try that. So I found my two teeth that are on the same side. Some chains have that, some don't. But that's where going to be my start and stop point. And we got ourselves a 5/32 file. And I got you zoomed in pretty tight, so. And we're going to start working on these teeth. And then after we do that, we're going to check our rakers. And we're going to get them filed down to where they need to be. Making sure that you are getting the gullet, so you can take a straight on. Maybe take 2 or 3 passes, light passes, and then get your angles and start filing. When you're filing, you don't need to be applying a whole lot of pressure. Let the file do the work. And add a little bit of pressure downward, a few strokes, a little bit of pressure straight back for a few strokes, and then a little bit of upward pressure to get that top plate and try to get that burr. And I got a good burr all the way around that. So that tooth is done. Doesn't take a whole lot of effort to file. So you don't have to add a whole lot of pressure. And just let the file do the work. Sometimes I hear people filing sometimes, and it just feels like, or sounds like they're just digging in just as hard as they can dig in. And that's because they're shoving on it. They don't need to. You really don't need to. Same way with the saw. When you're cutting, let the saw do the work. Make sure that when you're following your tooth, like I said, you get the gullet, and make sure you've got that little C. Alright, let's see if I can zoom you in here. Okay, see how that tooth is right there? It's got a little bit of a cup to it. And that's one that hasn't been sharpened yet. There's one I just sharpened. Got a little cup to it. You don't want it like, kind of like pointing straight up. A little cup to that. And again, this is just one of those semi chisels. So basically, you're filing there, and you're filing there, and you're filing across the top. Or a full chisel, you go here and there. I'm not crazy about semi chisel, but there's a lot of it out there, especially in my area. It's really not a logging industry where I'm at. There is some logging here, but it's flat ground, so they use equipment instead of saws. This chain's not too terribly bad. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but I'm definitely going to try. Right there, I can see that. There's your burr. You get that burr, you're done. That's sharp now. Sorry if I'm moving you guys around a lot. I'm just trying to get a good spot for you and not get in your way. I usually have a different pair of glasses that I wear, and they're just magnifying glass. They take a little lens like this. Right? Hey, you can see that pretty good now looking through there. That's an idea. Oh yeah, look at that. But anyway, you clip these onto the glass frame, and I got different ones with different power. Like this is a number 2.5. You get them on Amazon. This is what I would normally wear when I'm doing this. Allows me to see the tooth a little bit better. That way I can see that burr a little bit better. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be. I think some people use these semi-chisels. I'm not really positive, but I think some people use the semi-chisel for like dirty wood or even sawmills, like the Alaskan sawmill type. I've not done a whole lot with that kind of stuff, but I just use the full chisel. As long as I can find it, that's what I use. There we go. I need to get a chain for my Echo 355, my little climbing saw, and I need to get a chain for my pulling wood shark. They're toward the end of their life, so this will go on Amazon, see what I can find. Takes a little bit of time to hand file. I do have a chain grinder. Looks like a little chop saw. That thing works pretty good. And usually if I got somebody brings me chain to sharpen, that's the way I'll do it. Sometimes if the chain is really bad on the saw, I'll take it off the saw and do it. Because it would take just too long to hand file it then. It's nicked up pretty bad. If you're out in the bush, you have no choice, but you have the luxury of a chain grinder. take advantage of it. Let's take a look. Let's take a look for a lens. Let's see if that helps out any. Uh-oh, got no battery. Probably might have to cut you off after this. The battery's getting low. Let's see how that looks. There we go. You can see my burr on the top plate. You can see I got my little C shape. All right, I got the chain is done. Now we're going to work on these breakers. And as you can see, there's a tiny bit of gap between the, so right there's your tooth, right there's your raker. There's a tiny bit of gap across there when I lay my file across the top of it. But we can knock a little bit more off. And there is raker gauges out there. And I suggest you get one if you're new to this. I've been doing it for quite a while. Don't get me wrong, I'm no expert, but I've got an idea of what I need. Right now, this is probably good for hardwood. Most of the wood we have around here, we have some hardwood, we got a lot of softwood, a lot of pine. So, I'm gonna get you in there. Like that. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to give it 2 strafes across there. And you don't need to bear down on this very hard either, just like when you're following the teeth. But a little bit of pressure is needed. So you'll want to find a starting point, which here's my double tooth right there in the same direction. That's where I'm going to start. When I get back around to that, I know I've been all the way around. So basically, all I do, like I said, if you're new at this, you're not certain on what you need to do or how much to take off, get yourself a raker gauge. And you'll need a raker gauge for the type of chain you have. So if you got a 3/8 chain, you'll need one for a 3/8. And on that raker gauge, you'll have softwood and hardwood. It all depends on what you're cutting. It will depend on how much of that, what spot on that raker gauge you would use. But I put my fingers up here to protect the tooth. And I take that file and I let it run against my thumb and finger. So here we go. All I do, put my fingers around the tooth and let the file run against my fingers. That's basically all I do. Give it a couple swipes. After a while, you learn how many swipes you may need to take off. So I don't suggest this for everyone, but this works for me. You can get a chain that's too hungry, which means you have taken too much off of your raker. And now the tooth, too much of the tooth is grabbing wood. And all that does is slows you down, and it puts more strain on the saw. So slowing down and putting more strain on your saw does absolutely nothing for you. It'll take you longer to do the job, and like I said, it puts more wear and tear because it's putting more strain on the saw itself, and that's not good. You want the saw to stay up in its RPMs. If it stays up in its RPMs, it should cut faster and cut easier. And if you're cutting faster and easier, that's less work on you, that's less work on the saw, and you're getting the job done quicker. So that's how I sharpen my chains, by hand. That's how I do my rakers. And hopefully that's some helpful information for you. Hopefully you like the content. If so, give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe. Please send me some comments. I'd like to hear from you. Let you know what you think. Be kind and help people when you can.